the election was over, and you had to come up with some other topics.
Well, let me ask you, what about your academic? What type of education did you need prior to going, or you just jumped in and started doing it?
No, I've got a degree in journalism from the University of Kansas, and I have always been into journalism, probably since I was in high school or so. So I've worked for some other newspapers and published a few of my own papers, and come from a publishing family. So it's just kind of in my blood. Can't get it out of my blood, I guess.
Okay, and if someone else want to join in, I'm more than happy. That this young lady, and it's Martin. A lot of people might not know where Martin City is as it relates to Kansas City. Could you kind of tell them, educate them?
Well, Martin City is about as far as you can go in Kansas City. It is part of Kansas City, and so it's just pretty much on the Jackson County, Cass County border. So, Warnell, which is one of the oldest streets and main thoroughfares through Kansas City, just ends in Martin City. So it's about 135th Street. And Martin City is about 600 people as far as residents are concerned, with lots of restaurants, entertainment. Jess and Jim's and RC's have been there just forever. So that's what they're kind of known for. But we do, like I say, cover South Kansas City, not just Martin City. So we have more to write about, I guess.
I know they have the rating, Nielsen, and I know the audit of circulation. I did a seminar on that years ago, and they have one, the Audit Bureau of Chicago, that supposed to guarantee the circulation or the distribution. And a lot of people say, take for example, if you printed up 10,000, they would say the circulation was 30,000 because they figured that
right.
3 people would read that different newspaper.
Yeah, that's called the pass-around readership. I think they've probably changed it to 2.5.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's less than that, but yeah, everyone reads off of their cell phone or computer these days. But out here in South Kansas City, where there's really more of an older demographic, they really appreciate the printed word. So we're fortunate in that way.
Well, I know also the people, they said even, I know it depends on advertising, we'll get into that, but they said even if somebody finished reading the newspaper, the print media, and they throw it, wrap it around their garbage and just throw it out there, somebody going to see something, and they're going to read, and that's another way of getting the word out. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I have heard that, and it's so interesting that you bring that up, because I had put a lot of my papers that were just sitting in my car into the recycling bin and put it out by the curb, and it got picked up by Casey Compost. Well, the following week, we got a call from Casey Compost saying they'd like to advertise. They're trying to find drivers, and I thought, I guess they picked up the paper, read it, and decided they should advertise. I don't know if that's true, but it is true what you say, though.
Okay, we do have a producer and people in there, and I know even though they're in that little small town of St. Louis, I'm quite sure they will have something that needs to get out, or some thoughts they might have, or some experience they want to join us at any time. We're on Facebook, we're on Apple TV, which I believe is a product of T-Mobile. We're on Smart and iPhone, and we have podcasters that broadcast 5 different countries, and that's a week. And soon we hope to be joined by coming on, like plays, musical and what have you. And they said, well, you'd be a good source, and they're going to start telling us to do interviews when people come in town, or news that people like to hear, or entertainment. So I'm quite sure you'll get the same thing in Martin City of things that happen out there. Now, let me ask you, you're out in Martin City, and they have the fair down in Sedalia. Do the people utilize Martin City Telegraph to reach the people in that area? Because we're talking about down there in the Forum area and whatever. Well, we know that Sedalia is 90 miles from Kansas City. What is your reach, you think? Just, guesstimation.
Well, yeah, we don't reach out to Sedalia. We pretty much reach, as south as Belton and Raymore, and we go as far as west. We go into Leawood and a little bit of Overland Park, and north we go up to probably around Brookside, and then east we go to pretty much 71 Highway, maybe a little bit east of that. So, Grandview and, just the Kansas City border there. We don't go into Lee Summit. So, I don't know if you can picture any of that.
Well, yeah, because I was going to ask you, a lot of people, I know the guy who's the CEO of the Missouri Press Association, and I know some people join, some people don't, but a lot of people say it's another way of really getting the word out there where people want to. And then they got the Kansas Press Association. I was talking to the editor and the CEO. She told me they had about 400 members that belong to the Kansas Press Association. And I know Missouri, I talked to that. I've been knowing him a pretty good while, and we normally, when we put on our conventions and things, he normally attend and try to get the word in. But then some newspapers, because of, I forgot to mention COVID, that in remembrance, and it's serious. I mean, it's nothing to play with, and the people's, I guess use the word dying every day because they don't have to get their shot. Some get their shot and still have fatalities. But on the same token, I think, what type of news? You do editorials, you do public service or human interest show, news. What is your format?
Well, we're a community newspaper, and really based on a small town newspaper. I grew up in a small town. So we actually do not do editorials or opinion pages. I just feel like, my opinion as the editor isn't any more important than anyone else's. But we hope to put out the information so that people can have an educated opinion. And we try to do it without any kind of bias. So that has been real popular with our readers, and something that I guess is a little different, but not so different for community newspapers that really try to cover the community, such as what's being built around the corner, what's going on with the infrastructure. What are the schools doing? Trying to think. We have a very big history page, which I believe should be a part of South Kansas City's knowledge. If you want to be rooted in the area, to know, the history of the area. Of course, our fantastic historian, great storyteller, Diane Houston, covers more than just South Kansas City. She does write about the history of Kansas City.
I met her. Okay.
Yeah, I bet you have. I mean, she's just a wonderful person. She writes the way she talks. So it's great. She'd be a great person for you to interview too. We do have John Sharp, who has been involved in politics, and he does have his own column and chooses to write about notices and things happening with maybe the city a little bit. We kind of cover everything. We try to have an arts and entertainment page. We try to have a spirituality page or religious page, homes and gardens, announcements page. Many of the things that you used to find in the Kansas City Star, for instance. A lot of papers, they would have these different sections that are still a vital part of any community, and we just choose to, keep it going and not just be not to be so heavy on civic news, stuff coming out of the city council or mayor's office.
You mentioned high school. I know that includes sports, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
you have some pretty good teams out there in those areas surrounding areas by Martin City.
What?
I see you have some outstanding sport teams, high school, what have you.
Yeah, we do. There are a lot of schools out this way, which makes it a challenge to cover all the sports and all the education news. We've got we cover Center School District, Hickman Mills School District, Grandview School District, and then we have private schools such as Rockhurst, Barstow, Notre Dame de Sion, the Lutheran private school, called Lutheran High School. So they all seem to be out this way, and there is some exciting news going on with that always. We're just trying to keep up with the news that people are interested in, and I always feel like if I'm interested in it, then I think our readers will too. I'm pretty average as far as what the interests are or is out there.
If you just tune in, we have a special broadcast celebrating not only Black Press Month, but also Women History Month. We have a dynamic young lady that she didn't go to Park College or Park University or Missouri University, went to KU, and they got a pretty good journalism department up there. And also, speaking of publishing, the Meredith Corporation, Homes and Garden and all that, Better Home Garden, they own at least 12 television and radio stations. So they get into more than just publishing.
Yeah, that's kind of the way to go. We get our paper printed in St. Joseph with the, I think it's called the News Gazette or something like that. Now, they also are into a lot of radio and TV stations. MPG is the name of the umbrella corporation, but I guess if you're in the news, you probably could make a lot of profit by going into something other than print.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about getting the information out there.
I know you have deadlines. If somebody want to get an article in there, or a letter to the editor, or get the news out, or a human interest story, what do you recommend, and also your deadlines, and how can you receive it? Do you do it this electronically, or people do the rough copy and submit it to your editors to edit it?
We have quite a few reporters. They're all freelance, but if someone submits a story idea to us, excuse me, we usually send someone out to do the story. It's rare for us to get a story sent to us that is something that's not biased, or not unbiased, I should say. It's usually written by someone who has a passion about a certain side to the story or angle. So I just try to get one of our writers, to kind of iron it out, and get both sides of the story.
Do you have opportunity, and that's coming up soon, to get interns? And a lot of times the newspaper have paid internships. I talked to some radio stations, TV stations they pay, and they have a paid internship. How does this work, or how does this operate out to Martin City Telegraph?
Well, we haven't really we haven't had any of that. I think we had maybe a photographer from Avila who was an intern for a summer. But that's actually something I need to work on with either KU or MU, and every so often someone's parents volunteers their child to work for us, and we never hear from them again. But it's just such a great program to get started with, I guess, and we definitely could use that kind of help, honestly.
They changed the name. It's now the University of Central Missouri, but they had you're talking about a dynamic, you're talking about broadcast and journalism, public relations department. They seem, and that's close to Warrensburg, or it's probably just say it's in Warrensburg. You ever utilize any of those people that attend that particular college or university?
No. Like I said, I haven't really reached out to anybody at all, and I guess it just hasn't even occurred to me, or maybe I just am a procrastinator at doing it. But it's such a great idea. I'm glad you mentioned it. I think it's something I need to do, and I really would not have even thought of that. But you're right; they're very close, just like 30 minutes or so, well, maybe a little more.
So I know one of my friends there, former city councilman, former state rep, and his son is now a state rep, Mr. John Sharp, and he's a columnist for you.
Yes, he is. And I don't know where we would be without him. He definitely has the inside track to everything.
He always did. I think his son, Mark, I'm trying to reach him. I think he's doing quite well down in Jeff City.
Yes, he is. I think he's well respected. And he knows how to relate to everyone there. So I think it's just his second year, maybe going into his third.
Right.
But yeah, he's got a hold on it now, and I think he's getting things done, making some headway.
Yeah, I think they got the term limit down there. What is it, 2 terms they can serve down in the state, I believe? And then they have to set out, and then maybe after a year, I think the same thing happens to city council here, that they can be elected a 2-term, after that they have to set out a year and try it again. Yeah,
they have to do 2 terms, so that's about 8 years maybe, and then they'll usually go to, run for a state senate office, and then have 2 terms there, and we're done. So I think some of them usually get assigned to an office if they just want to be career politicians. But,
do you have, a lot of people used to have, when the politicians are running, it's a little different with broadcast, so they're supposed to extend invitations to everybody who's running. But do you guys have the different little campaigns? I know you have a campaign individual, but do you have where the people come together and just try to showcase how they can best serve their community, those type of gatherings?
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. Of course, we have political action committees, but I'm not sure about group politicians or candidates organizing themselves to run a group, if that's what you're talking about.
Well, actually, I used to organizations that provide opportunity for the people running for the different office. And I know one time the president, Reagan, they had different things you could do and you couldn't do, just extend the invitation. But they would bring the people together and have, it's like a candidate forum to have the different people.
Oh.
That's what I was referring to.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, there are community groups that actually have candidate forums, and the Women League of Voters is one of them. And
right.
I know in Grandview, I forget who has it there, but yeah, there always seems to be some community organization that hosts it.
I know the League of Women Voters. I've been involved with them and on a lot of shows I've done with them, and they get the word out. And they got the one in Missouri, and they got the one in Kansas, and probably other states and cities too.
Yeah, they really do a fantastic job. We go to their website, and you could learn about the candidates, and it's very unbiased. And we try to follow their pattern, actually. That's when we do our special election issue. So they do just a fabulous job.
Did you say y'all did do some coverage of Kansas or not?
Pardon, I didn't hear you.
Oh, did you say y'all do some coverage, publicized on Kansas? Do y'all do that, or you just mainly stay on the Missouri side?
We mainly stay on the Missouri side, but we are right up against the state line, and so we have a lot of readers in Leawood, and so
right, that's Kansas, okay.
Service them as well and get the information they need. So kind of all in it together in many ways.
From an editor, owner, and what have you, what are some of the things you would like to see the people, not only your readers, but what would you think that would really kind of reach the people where you feel they need to be reached? And of course, if you got the advertising is the key to all your publishing and things. The more advertisers got, the more paper you can put out, and that will dictate the size of the paper too.
Yes, it certainly does. We seem to have a lot of support from the community as far as ads are concerned. We can always have more. As far as reaching further, we do. I'll have to back up a little bit here. We do deliver the paper free, so you can find the paper at restaurants, libraries, all kinds of businesses. So we try to reach the east side, and I don't feel like we're getting there well enough. We hit the grocery stores, and they go fast in that area. For instance, Hickman Mills. But it is hard to get the news out in the south part of Kansas City that, along Truth and like the Paseo and Prospect. So that's something where I wish we could work a little bit harder at getting the news out. And I don't know how it would be accepted there. So, but we do cover a lot of information that should be known by any resident in South Kansas City. So.
Well, this show, Guess Who Come to Kansas City, and the other ones, we welcome anybody looking on Facebook, and as the YouTube is available today, to text and ask any question they might want to ask of you. And I'm quite sure we have some very capable people that could tell us what that particular writer or newspaper writer or reader would like to know from you. We do a lot of shows. We do a lot of things as far as media concerned. But somehow after the show is over, we said, I forgot to say that, or I didn't say this. I'm quite sure you get the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could almost talk forever about your business, and there's never enough time in the day, and no one wants to hear it anyway.
So if anybody else
I have to say, you're doing a great job of interviewing. You are a very good interviewer. Excellent questions.
Now, that's knowing you and Fraxon all the time.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone else has something to ask, just feel free to do so. I know a lot of people have some questions. If they text it into Facebook and what have you, we'll be happy to have our special guest, even though she didn't go to Park University, she went to KU. That's not her fault, but I don't know what, speaking of KU, I haven't been watching, and this is March Madness time. Who won the Big 12?
Goodness, I
basketball. I know they was tied with, I think, Baylor was fighting up. And they said the Big 12 conference is one of the toughest conferences in the nation.
That's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm. Are you telling me you're not into sports?
I'm not into sports. I'm kind of lucky I get to edit sports, but I'm happy we have a sports writer.
Well, Ari, you have anything to say?
No, I'm just listening and learning, and one of the things you learn by listening, and it's been a very, very good interview. And you guys have covered quite a few different areas, and that's and I'm just impressed to hear about the what's going on. You asked a question about Kansas, and I think how they doing. Well, right now they seem to be. The score is 65-62 right now, and Kansas is in the lead effort against Texas.
Oh, okay. They got a game going on now. Okay.
So Kansas is seeded number 6 in the tournament, and Texas is number 2 in the tournament. So right now, the underdog would be Kansas right now. Okay, which is kind of unusual to be underdog.
Well, it's kind of amazing that we have this non-sports fan, and you tell me about her old school.
Well, I know that you are, a sports fan, and by the way, this is kind of interesting. 65, Kansas is leading, and we're down to the last 35 seconds in the game. And I think Kansas is going to win, by the way.
Well, how much time you says left?
Well, I'll be the sportscast. We have 31 seconds to go in the game. 67, 63. Kansas is leading, and they just found the ball. And guess what? Kansas is now. This, by the way, is in the overtime period that they're playing overtime here also. So right now it's 28 seconds left, and Kansas should win because they're score 6 to 3. 6 to 7, that's 4-point difference. I kind of don't see no one scoring those 4 points that quickly, But in basketball, who knows? A 3-shot, might get fouled, what happens. But right now, I think Kansas University should come away with 1 today.
Well, I think we learned that Kathy is not one of the cheerleaders. He used to go out there and cheer them on.
I kind of stepped in as a sports person today. And gave a report on what's going on in the game. But no, I think the interview that you guys are doing is very informative. And Kathy, first time meeting you, I'm very impressed with your paper. But what is the kind of the numbers you have, for distribution? Do you have those numbers? Are those available? You guys hadn't mentioned that so far.
Yeah, we print either 14 or 15,000 copies of the paper.
Okay, that's good.
We get them out there.
Okay. And
we.
Well, this is the part you mentioned about you put it on the girl.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We do have a website too, and post the news that way as well. And,
What is the website?
the website is Martin City Telegraph at Gmail. I mean, MartinCityTelegraph.com. So that is the website.
Okay.
And she, early on, you said she came from a small town, but you didn't mention what small town did you come from?
Oh, I came from a really small town in southwest Kansas. It's called Spearville, Kansas. A little German community. And then moved up here in the early 80s and have been here ever since. Like I said, I went to KU. I was trying to do some research on women in publishing, and Lucille Bluford is just so highly thought of here in Kansas City. She was a publisher of The Call.
She was a good friend of mine, yes.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not too many people know she actually went to KU.
Right,
first.
because Missouri didn't want to go down there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she kept fighting that. Starting, I guess, in 1939, and I think it took about 10 years for her to finally be accepted into the MU journalism program, which apparently she didn't really need to go to journalism school again.
I know she was hot on the pork bitches to do story. It was a good friend of mine. I can't think of his name, but he was one of the dean of journalism there. But he lived in a place, if you can believe this, the name of it was Waycross, Georgia. That's the city he grew up in. I can't remember his name, but he was professor of journalism at KU.
Oh, about when?
Let's say it has to be at least 15 years ago, I would think.
Oh, okay. I probably wouldn't know him. That's way after my time.
Okay. I knew him very well, and I just can't call his name right now. But just like we have really gathered, and I'm glad Mr. Fowlkes got in, and a lot of people, you'd be surprised what people want to know, but don't know how to ask a question. And they said, no question is a dumb question if you don't ask, okay? Or get the answer. And then the 5 ways or 5 W's for journalism, and people really have to get into the meat of get what the readers want to read, and plus the public has a right to know, regardless whether that particular person might say, well, I agree with that. Maybe I don't agree with that. I got a favorite word. The public has a right to know. How do you feel about that?
Oh, yeah. I think people can agree or not agree, but they really should be given both sides of a story, and that's something in journalism right now that is not being done, especially with the news channels, where it's just really opinion that's driving viewership. And up until the early 1990s, there was such a thing as I forget now exactly what it's called, so I apologize. But you basically, if you're on TV or the radio, you had to provide both sides of a story, and it was kind of like an equal time. And then when the 24-hour news channels came on board, that kind of went out the window. And I feel like we really need it back if we want to save our country, so that we don't have such a bipolar country. People are reading exactly what they want to hear, and no one knows what the truth is anymore. It's just opening up the country towards invasion, really. I hate to say that. But, chaos is based on not knowing what the truth is anymore. and it breaks down a lot of barriers towards being a secure country. So I feel very strongly about the country having more of the equal time legislation for news stories. Yeah, it's just so important to provide both sides of the story, or you just really can't trust it. And for so long, the press has been pretty liberal, but they have done their research, honestly, and that's what makes a journalist a journalist, their ability to be almost like attorneys in the way that they research stories. But
one of the things, okay, that you just mentioned there about the bias in the news and stuff, and unfortunately, you made something there about unfortunately, things doesn't seem to be going to the point where you have good journalists, because in the old days you had to verify a story, build a story before you published it, or you were on the air with it, the radio station, or whatever media was in, that you would make sure that it was a fact before it was broadcast.
Yes, that is so true. That should be done now. We shouldn't even have to have any kind of a policy or legislation for that sort of responsibility. But yeah, definitely, I feel like this stuff is being made up.
Well, one of the things, nowadays it seems to be who can report it first seems to be the way the news is done nowadays.
Yeah. But I think that's always been a thing, to get the news out before your competitor does. But I think now it's just even more sensationalized, or they're definitely not making sure they have their facts before they get the news out. And it's just so angled in such a way that it's meant to rile you up and get you on board.
How many times have we heard the phrase on TV, breaking news? There was a time that you saw it, okay, you were listening, something was taking place that was breaking news that you wanted to hear about.
Yeah.
There was something new, something that was, that hadn't been reported, and now, we dominated by, the electronic media, and even on the local stations, when you tune in, it's breaking news. It's breaking. As a matter of fact, one of the things that somebody said early on that you didn't elaborate on, that one of the things that really drive the news nowadays is chaos, negativity.
Oh, yes.
That people want that good news is not normally reported. It's the bad news that's always reported.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I think people are sick of it.
I think so.
They really are. Someone actually. We had a reader who called me probably a week or so ago saying, can you get back to giving us good news, fun news? We need some fun away from all this bad news, all this negativity. And we had started to focus a little more on news coming out from the mayor's office and what's going on with the city, and less about human interests or schools and things that really make you feel good. People really like to hear about progress in their community rather than negative news on who's doing something wrong. They really love the Cinderella story, which is what every community is.
one thing that UNFC kind of covered early on was the term limitation in the Missouri Senate. It's a 2-year term, but if you're in the House with Representatives, it's a 4-year term. No, it's 4 terms at 2 years each. So they both total a total of 8 years, though.
Oh.
Yes, I mean you can be a state representative for 4 terms, which is a total of 8 years. And then, therefore, you can move on to enough of the Senate. Most of the time, the state senators do that. But right now, it has created total gridlock in the Missouri legislature because now we still haven't come up with a map yet for our congressional district. And there's a big debate right now about Emmanuel Cleveland's district in one of the districts they're trying to eliminate. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that haven't they dropped that because it was just such a dumb idea. I think they even used the word dumb.
It's dumb. To include Kansas City with the Ozarks, is just really. And I've visited both. I know all of us have, and there's the concerns of nowhere close to being the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nowhere close. One is actually rural, and one is really urban. So, could you imagine having one of the major urban areas combined with the major rural area? And if you're the congressman and trying to represent a district such as that, that doesn't make good sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Of course not.
Yeah, but nowadays in politics, good sense is kind of the thing that no one actually, cares about anymore.
I'm very curious that the person from New York just got back from Buffalo. What do you think about what we're talking about? And how does this? What would you like to ask Kathy, Scott?
Kathy, a lot of newspapers have an online edition. Does your newspaper have an online edition as well?
Yes, we do. It's something you do have to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
A subscription of $25.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, our website does have the news come through it. It doesn't look like a newspaper, which is what our online subscription would be. You would go to it and open it up exactly like a newspaper. But we do post our stories a little bit later than when it comes out in print. And we do that to help our advertisers because if everyone just went straight to the website, then they wouldn't see the ads and give our advertisers, which keep us afloat, any business. So yes, we do always publish everything through our website or online, I guess. And again, the website address is martincitytelegraph.com.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I did agree with while we were talking about it is the fact that the mainstream media does not adhere to the 5 W's, the who, what, where, why, when, of news anymore. And besides that, the whole style of journalism has changed from the important thing first to the important thing very last. How do you format your stories? Are you among the folks who keep the shall we say the best part for the end, or do you tell what the story is up in the beginning?
Well, no, we do follow the most important news at the very top, and then the least important at the bottom. I haven't seen that in other stories, but maybe you might be right. That might just be a trend, I think.
Yeah, it seems to be on social media, and I'm mostly on social media here as a internet broadcaster, but it seems that it's all teaser until the very end. And you know what? I would much rather see, personally, not necessarily, not always the happy news, but the news that's going to make a difference. It's something that I can change
Yeah.
and not just sit there and listen to it. Does that make any sense to you?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like every story should be a call to action in some
It should
way.
be. It should be.
Some
And
way.
but there is so much fluff in the world right now that you know, and as a small unit, we have a hard time changing the world, but it needs to be changed back again.
Yeah, I agree. I think it just has to happen.
Well,
And
it
it's,
takes small people like us to start doing that.
yeah, you're right.
Kathy, I'm gonna take this opportunity, okay, to invite you to get on my radio program that airs on Frequency USA, HotTalkRadio.com every Saturday at 1 p.m., 1 to 3. It's our lunch to Missouri Human Commerce, and we like to have guests such as yourself come on and talk about, what is taking place in your community, and especially, in the demographics. Are there, how many black businesses are in your community with you, in your footprint, I should say?
What's the population for my community?
Yes, the population, and how many black live in your community also together?
Oh, my gosh. I don't really know those numbers specifically, but I can kind of guess that overall, I believe there's probably 200,000 people who live in South Kansas City, and I think that's about right. And then how many are black? I'm not real sure. I'll have to look that up because I would say it's almost half and half. So I venture to guess like 50-50, but we also have a good Hispanic population out this way as well. It's pretty high. So.
Well, I would be rich, okay, if you actually have any Ukraine residents in your area. Yes, Ukraine is now the top of the news around the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd like to find somebody. I'm not. I really need to study the census, I guess, to see what we have. Of course, they would just be listed as Europeans, I guess. But yeah, that's a whole new topic.
I don't know where you go. Well, right now, it's a topic that's will be being discussed more because as we kind of get away from this redistricting and people right now starting to benefit, not benefit, okay, from the information that was collected, it's going to be more discussed than before.
Yeah.
Why did I get cheated out of a whole month? Exactly how much did that cost my community? And that's a lot of money, time, people being counted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think they cut it short, didn't they?
Yeah, about a whole month, yes, they did.
Yeah. Just so they could redraw the district within the Trump administration, if I'm correct.
Yes. Yeah. Which the logic didn't make good sense at the time, and as you look up a couple of years backwards now, the rearview mirror, okay, it still makes less good sense, because a lot of people need those monies, those funds for the community to just exist.
Oh yeah.
And I think that was the backbone of the census in the first place, to make sure everyone got equal representation.
Yeah.
People are aware that everyone in this country is counted as one vote, but also there's a number put on your head of how many benefits you bring to your community, how many dollars that you work for your community.
That's an interesting subject that I haven't really thought about before. And in regard, we're gonna have to look at that. Yeah, how much it costs.
It's a story. no matter, if you look at how much, in the state, each person, gets X amount of dollars, predicated on what school, your school, how many students you have, that brings dollars in, and so on and so on.
Oh, right. Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're totally right on that. And that has been a topic of discussion out this way, especially in Hickman Middle School District and I believe Grandview, maybe Center. But, I think especially with the Hispanic population, which is pretty heavy in both the Grandview and I think the Hickman Mills School District, but definitely Grandview. A lot of those are immigrants, and they do kind of travel around. They don't really stay too long. They follow their jobs. It's very hard to count them. And then they had to also deal with being afraid of being deported, even if they were counted in the census. So, yeah.
There's always stories to go with. There's a story behind the story.
Yep. There is. There's no end to the stories.
Yeah. No, that's the best part of the story.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. What do you see the future to being for small newspapers? I think the need is greater than ever before. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the need for a community paper is stronger than a need for a larger city newspaper. Because people want to know what's going on in their neighborhood. And the community papers are doing better than, like, the city newspapers across the country. But in the future, I think, I hate to say it, but as people who are used to going out to their driveway and picking up a paper and reading it with their coffee, as they slowly, go away, and that includes myself.
I get mine every day. I get a post dispatch in my driveway, and I look forward to it. I know I got it online, but I guess I can have the hard copy in my hand. And
do you?
Yeah, and I lay it down. Matter of fact, even when I do the show with MC most Saturdays, what I'll do, if I'm not being involved in the program, I be grazing through the paper, seeing the different stories, watching, reading what's going on. That's one of my things that I have right here by my feet right now. Is what I do, just pick up on the news, and and just I'm a hard copy person also, very much a hard copy.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. What's your age?
Well, I'm 73 years old, so I'm qualified in that old in that senior citizen category.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
But I do think the younger generation, they're just going to be so used to reading everything on a screen that the small town newspapers or community newspapers will just eventually have to go in that direction. And I just read something recently that makes total sense to me, and that is the usage of online newsletters, which right now people probably do get, like if they sign up for the Kansas City Star or other newspapers that are just digital, they'll get news sent to their email address. But now they're saying you could sign up to just get the newsletter that has to do with sports only. Yeah. And then it would cost a lot less than subscribing to the entire newspaper. And I thought that was pretty genius because you could break it down and maybe just get the school news or in newsletter format. And,
well, unfortunately, we're about coming out close to the show, but any information you would like to get out and how people can contact you and type of people you might look to give an opportunity to hire freelance or whatever, now is the time.
Yes, we are looking for freelance writers. We would like to have more freelance writers who can cover the Black community. We are missing that. John covers it, but it's not quite the same. We really, really need Black journalists, and they can contact us through the Martin City Telegraph .com or martincitytelegraph@gmail.com. Either way, I'd love to hear from anybody anybody who can write. We're always looking for writers. That would be happy to have someone from the Black community join our.
Well, Ira and Scott, you have a chance to say something now. Again.
Like us on FergusonUSAHotTalkRadio.com and YouTube and Twitch.
And also, lunch with Missouri Black Chamber of Commerce. We out there, and on Facebook, YouTube, and all those things. But the National Chamber of Commerce right now could always, like businesses that need resources, in the form of money. That's one of the main things that people look for nowadays to help out.
And my name is MC Richardson. I am the chairman, the CEO, and the founder of the United Minority Media Association. And we have some very good things coming up for events this year. And one we're very excited about going to happen the 16th and the 17th of September, and over to the Embassy Suite. And it's going to Kansas City. We're reaching out to people throughout about maybe 8 or 9 states with a special emphasis on Arkansas and Ketcher, Arkansas, where back in 1923 they have race riding. That's not new for any state or city in the United States, but we'll be reaching out to people, and then also ours from Missouri Black Chamber, so that means he's from the Show Me State.
Yes. There's a lot to be shown.
Well, Kathy, any other things you would like to? And we really appreciate you. You started out. You put us on the right track for Women History Month.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored to be part of your program and be the one to get you straightened out or started out, I guess, with women's history. So we talked a little bit about that, I guess.
And then Ira said he wanted to do something with you on his show.
Yeah. Always looking forward. Yeah.
He knows how to reach. He took down your number, got me headed right. I couldn't see it. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and be sure to tune in next week. We have another exciting show and informational show, and with news you can use and no nonsense. Thank you very much, and we out of here.
Life is good.
Take care.